folks, welcome you all to yet another vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. Flaggins up to you all, people. Flaggins up to you all. It's not going to grow old with this class anytime soon. If it's a suitable time of the day and you'd like to join me in beverage, people of a similar ilk, by all means, pop me on pause, go and get your drink and come back and we will talk all things gaming. Well, some things gaming, you know, all things would be a bit extreme, people, and we don't have time for it. We'll be here all year. I have, as always, people, I will put timestamps on the video. Now I've learned how to do it over the last 3 videos. I will put timestamps on the video for you. So if you don't want to hear me prattle on about this, that, and the next thing, you can scoot straight to the bit that you came to because it piqued your interest in the title. And I'll make sure that timestamp's there for you, and you can go straight to that part, people. Fast forwards. I have had, people, yes I have, quick breakdown of a week. I've had a good week. I've got plenty done on my day job at work. Lots of stuff finished off that I need to get finished off. On to the next project. There we go. I've got good couple of runs in this week. Weather's not been too bad either. And I've got plenty of gaming in as well through the week, which we'll get to talk about. I think well, I say we'll get to talk about. We'll talk about it now, people. I think the last time we spoke, I had just come off the back of Resident Evil Village, which I absolutely adored. Absolutely fantastic game. And we won't run through it again. If you want to know my opinions of that, you can go to the last vlog or two. But absolutely wonderful. I mean, my game of the year by far at the moment. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm saying it, I said it in the last vlog, the best Resident Evil game I've ever played. Fact. And I'm saying it, I wasn't sure before I jumped back to Resi 2. And then I actually thought, yeah. And I actually get why first person works or can work better than third person when it comes to a Resi game. I mean, I didn't feel it was 7, but with Village, I genuinely felt like I was in a Resi game, even though it wasn't third person, and I felt it all the way through, and it was just superb. It took every aspect of Resi games and smelted them into this one game and made it superb. I absolutely loved it. And from that, I think on the last vlog, I jumped into Resi 2 because I had never finished Resi 2 Remake, as it is. And I did a bit of a Let's Play on the channel for it. It wasn't overly popular, so I kind of stopped at some point or other, quite far in, as it happens. I think I was in the sewer level. And then I never got to finish it. So after I came out of the back of Village, I thought, right, I'll crack into Resi 2 and see if I can actually get the thing finished. And sure enough, I did. I started it from scratch, Claire playthrough, all the way through to the end. And it was fun. It was a great game. It was a real chore to get through the police station part because I must have started the game about 5 times in the past. And so that section was already... it was already old. It just grown really old on me, and I forgot how frustrating the game was with the never-ending zombies. That, you know, I don't mind a lot of zombies, but zombies that keep getting up just wind me up. Like, it just really wound me up, that game, with that. It was like, you know, there should be a point where a number of bullets in the head keeps them down, because the amount of bloody ammo you waste and stuff, I mean, I suppose it's what they were getting at, that you're always going to be short, but it just got really, really annoying after a while. And, you know, you shoot a zombie in the head, it should go down, shouldn't it? That's the whole point, isn't it? Every zombie film ever. Anyway, that problem isn't in. Well, I'm about to say it wasn't in Village. I don't recall it being in Village anyway. It certainly didn't bug me in Village. But anyway, that game just wound me up with it. And anyway, I got past it. The police station was more the annoying part. And once I got to the tail end of the police station, back into the next section of that and the sewers and stuff, I really got into it and really saw it through. It was and I enjoyed it. And yes, I know people are going to shout at me like Aaron Brew, my son, does, and say you've not actually finished it till you play the second run through. But to be honest, I tried, I really did, and I've been cracking into it with Leon, and but it's the police station all over again, and I'm like, I can't do this again. And it's not even like the playthrough they've given you to do a second time. It's slightly different, but I mean, it is literally, I mean, I'm going into the same rooms that Claire went into. If you're going to make me do a second run through, give me different sections, you know, pretty much throughout, and then just, you know, the odd bit here and there where I go to where I've been already. But it was literally the same thing over again, and it's like, it doesn't even make sense, because it's like everything he's doing, he would clearly have bumped into her, surely. They would have heard each other firing their guns, they would have bumped into each other. The whole thing it wound me up. So I got quite far into it, and then I started rushing it, and because I rushed it, I did loads of pickups, but then got to a point where I'd run out of my health, my potions, whatever they're called, and the yeah, I did. I'd got to a point where I didn't have. I mean, I was literally limping along. I was in the red, but I don't have any health potions. And there's two lickers kicking about, and there's Mr. X is now wandering about, and I was like, I can't. I don't even have the will or inclination to do it. Like Mr. X winding me up. That's another story in itself. But all in all, I enjoyed the Claire playthrough. If I'd played that the first time I'd got it and ran through it, I would have. I think I would have rated it higher than I do now, and also rated it higher than I do now that I've seen Village, which was just superb. I think it's probably second in my games at the moment. Haven't played third, but I did buy it for £15, so I've got Resident Evil 3 there to play, which I'll get to at some point. But I felt like I just wanted to play something else other than a Resi game now that I've done 2 on the bounce. But anyway, the 2 games finished. Tick them off, job done. So I'm happy with that. And then I kind of staggered because I was stuttering because I thought, am I going to finish this Leon playthrough? I don't want to jump into 3 until I decide. And then I because I downloaded Gears Tactics ages ago from Games Pass, and I thought I'll give that a go at some point. I'm sure it was. Well, it must have been when I first got the Series X, because I'm pretty sure that's when it was. I just downloaded it because I'd seen loads about it. Or it was not long after. Maybe it came out not long after that. But I've had it on there for ages. So I'm going to give this a go. And I already knew it was like a bit like XCOM, and it's a bit like XCOM. I don't know how they got away with how much it's like XCOM, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's literally XCOM with like Gears characters painted on top. To some degree, but I mean, certainly for the action and the customizations and stuff, it is. But anyway, I thought I'll give it a go and see how we get on. And I tell you, I've been absolutely addicted to it. It's absolutely brilliant. And not only has it got a great, I'm going to say great main character. There's a few characters that are classed as story characters, but the main guy in it is a great character. I think he's actually better than the I'm forgetting his name now, but the guy that plays Marcus Phoenix's son in the other one. I think he's a stronger all-round character to lead a story than that, and doesn't rely on a Phoenix at all, which is nice as well. Nice, refreshing story start. So the main character is great from the beginning. It gently leads you into different enemies and different areas and different types of fight that you've got to do. Sometimes you've just got to defeat the battlefield. Sometimes you've got to help prisoners escape within a certain amount of turns. You get the shotgun guys suddenly come into it. The sniper guys then come into it. And they just drip feed you more and more enemies that get harder and harder. And I mean, I'm by no means into it. I think I'm just scratching the surface of it at the minute. But I'm absolutely loving it. And the customization of the characters is great. And the more things the more battles you win, the more rewards you get for customizing your characters and that sort of stuff. But to say that, they give you a lot of customization from the beginning, especially in the colors and stuff. And then you've got these things planted around the battlefields as well, where you've got rare things you can pick up in cases, but you've got to go out your way to get them in the battlefield. So it gives you that extra bit of tension, because I want to get that before, completing the tasks that I've been given to do. Haven't actually managed to lose anyone yet, which is great. And I'm playing it on standard though, and I have found a few of the fights got quite tough. But your tactic fights, I don't know if you've never played them, the tactical type games. They're really addictive when you get into them. If you watch somebody playing them, it can maybe be a bit boring. I don't know, but it is really tense. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, because like when it's their turn, when it's the enemy turn, you've like this lack of control. Your perks and everything that are on your characters and the stuff you've been picking up, you'll hope that they kick in and they help you, and but that's all you can do. When it comes to the enemy's turn, they're going to do what they're going to do, and so it's great. It's really good, and you get a real kick out of taking the clearing the field, or getting to your escape point, or saving people, building up your squad. Really, I mean, I can't praise the game enough. It's absolutely brilliant. Fast becoming my number 2 game of the year, even though it didn't come out this. I'm going to say it didn't come out this year. It might have come out this year. I feel like Gears Tactics was out on these One X before the Series X came out. I'm sure it was. But then there's a little part of me saying, no, it must have come out on the Series X, and that's why you downloaded it on Games Pass. But anyway, it might have come out this year. If it did, it's fast becoming my second best game of the year at the moment. And yeah, so I've been cracking on with that. And then I was kind of like, I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind another game to play alongside this game, like, because it's quite nice to dip in and out of a tactical type game like that, a strategy game. And I ended up on Games Pass again, just having a nosy about, and then it occurred to me that I did a bit of a let's play on Outlanders. Is it Outlander? Yeah, Outlanders, I'm sure it's called, isn't it? I've forgotten the name of it now. Outlanders, yeah, I'm sure it is. And Outerworlds. Outerworlds, it's called. I'm making games up now, people. Outerworlds, we're talking. Yeah, I did a bit of a playthrough on Outerworlds, and then we got to a point and I stopped. And it's not unusual, is it? But I just wanted to show the game off at the time. But I remember thinking I really want to see this game through, and then again I never got back to it. So I've just downloaded that again from Games Pass, and I downloaded I downloaded two others and Senua's Sacrifice, because I thought I played that on the PlayStation back in the day, and I thought it'd be quite nice to play through that again in the run up to the second one coming out. Senua's it has got a name, hasn't it? It's not Senua's Sacrifice 2, it's Senua's something else, Meltdown or something. I can't remember. Can't remember what it is now. And I thought it'd be quite nice to see that through again, because it was a great game. Get some G's for it. And I also downloaded the Tales of... I am going to forget it now, and I didn't put it in my notes, I don't think. Oh, I can't remember now. But it was on the Switch, and it came to Games Pass recently, and it's a bit like the old style Final Fantasy RPGs. And... that's really going to annoy me now. I probably have pasted it up on the screen in some sort of wording. Little pop-up above me. But anyway, I've downloaded that as well. I don't know if I'll play that, but I thought I'll just download it because it wasn't a big game anyway. It was only a blah amount of gigs. It wasn't much. And so I've got all of that in my mind to play. But here's the thing. I remember seeing that Dragon Age Inquisition had hit the FPS boost. And I thought, while I was downloading that stuff last night, I still had Dragon Age Inquisition installed on the Xbox Series X because I showed it off on the Xbox Series X long before FPS Boost came out. I just wanted to see how it ran. And I did a little bit of a Let's Play for you guys up to the point that I'm still at. I've still got the save. And I thought I'll throw it on. Last night this was. I thought I'll throw it on and just see how the FPS plays out. Oh my god, it is so beautiful, guys. The 60 FPS in that game is just sublime. I was running around. I think in the we got to the desert, one of the desert sections, and it was it was so beautiful. And that was when I said at the beginning. I might have mentioned at the beginning as well that I did get a little bit tempted about doing a bit of a Let's Play again at that point, because I thought I could actually just do. I can't remember what part we got up to with Inquisition. We got quite far into it, I think. But anyway, I thought I could just carry on that playthrough, but with FPS Boost on the tabs when I post it up to say this is with FPS Boost on, just to show it off to you. And I might get tempted to do that this week, just to at least show off a number of parts of it and just carry on that playthrough, because we've already done a huge amount of armor building, weapon building, well, crafting, and we are in a really good area with battles and things to discover, because I think we'd just finished an area when we'd literally just got to this area that we're in at the end of the last Let's Play episode. So it got me really excited about giving it a go again, because it just looked beautiful, really beautiful. It was playing it was like buttery smooth, people. Really, really nice. And I'm not sure, I'd have to look back, but I have a feeling that at some point, I think on the Xbox, Dragon Age Inquisition might have been 900p, but it didn't look 900p. Bloody hellfire. I mean, it looked 1080p, at least. So I remember somebody piping up when I did the Let's Play saying it's so much better on PlayStation 5 because it's in 1080p and it's only 900 and whatever or something on the Xbox. But I tell you what, you wouldn't know looking at it. It was absolutely sublime. It looked gorgeous. So I may well get tempted just to do a little bit of recording on that, just to show it off, because I did do a lot of FPS videos before I took my little break from Let's Plays. We'll see how we go. So I've had a good little dabble in the gamings this week, between finishing off the Resis and getting stuck into Gears Tactics. Gears Tactics has been pretty much most of my week, until I decided to go looking for a game to play side by side with it last evening, people, last night. So there you are. So that's been my gaming. And what's been going on, people? Should we talk about some gaming news? So here's the thing, right, which is probably going to be the tagline of this video. Horizon Forbidden West had its own state of play last night, and it's all they showed on the state of play. And I didn't watch it live because I thought I would have watched a state of play if I had more in it, but just for that one game and the fact that I didn't quite click with the first one. It is a good game, but it had a lot of shortcomings for me. If it's going to call itself an RPG, it actually had a lot of shortcomings. It was more of an action game with some RPG elements in it, and I felt like it could have been a lot more in depth with its loot and reward system, because I just didn't feel rewarded at all with the loot that I was getting. And I didn't get excited about the end mechanics of it. Like, the battling was fine and fun and stuff. The world was beautiful, all that sort of thing. And the story was interesting. But if you do an RPG and you don't hook me into the loot system and the reward system, then I don't stick with it. And that's where it kind of fell over for me. However, I did think, and then at some point in the week I thought, it must have a 60 FPS boost by now. But it doesn't. They're the one. That's the one game, the big game from Sony, that has not got a 60 FPS boost, patch for the game. And I found it odd that it hasn't happened. And then last night when I did watch it, I thought I'll watch it in bed because it was only 20 minutes long. And I went to watch it, and it was quite obvious that they'd shown it off on a PlayStation 5 and it was playing at 30 frames per second. Now look, if you're going to show games off on a PlayStation 5, you need to be showing them at 60 frames per second, because otherwise it is a massive disappointment to the people that have bought a PlayStation 5. I'm sorry, but there is no reason at all that a game should be playing at 30 frames per second on a PlayStation 5, unless you're just going to put two options there, one of which is a 4K 30 and one of which is a 1080p or a 1440p 60 FPS or something like that. Even a 1080p I would take above 4K 30. I actually tried a few games this week that hadn't been patched at 30 FPS. I can't play them anymore. The games I've been playing are so beautiful at 60. When I put a 30 FPS game on, it's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I don't know how my eyes ever thought it was fine. But you cannot be bringing out a PlayStation. I know people are going to be shouting at the screen that Horizon Forbidden West is a PS4 game, not a PS5 game specifically. But look, they are showing it off on a PlayStation 5, and that is them saying this is how good it can look on a PlayStation 5. And I'm sorry, it doesn't look as good as you think it does. If you're sitting there thinking it looks good because it's 4K, it doesn't look good because it's 30 frames per second. You need to get it to 60 FPS. And I won't play games at 30 FPS now. I can't. It's horrible on my eyes. I can't be doing with it. So everything that I look at has to be 60 FPS. In fact, I haven't even checked if Outerworlds is 60 FPS. I hope it's got the boost on it. I'm sure it must have a patch or a boost. If it hasn't, I'll probably hold off on playing that until it gets some sort of boost. But you've got to patch your game. They've got to patch. Why they've not patched the old one to 60 FPS concerns me, because that would suggest that if they just take the cap off and let it run at 60, it's not as simple as that. For whatever reasons, it can't just seem to run at 60. I would also have expected that if they're going to start punting this game, which is a sequel to this original, in every way, it is exactly the same character, the story is driving on, it is an absolute sequel, that you would patch the old game to make it 60 FPS, to make people play it, give them a reason to go back and play it again, and remind themselves how good it is before, buying the new one on day one and all this sort of stuff. But there's been none of that. It's been literally like, here's a state of play, and here's a state of play just for one game, and then they don't even give you a launch window for it. It's like, what was the point of the state of play? Like, why did they even have it? I mean, I don't understand what that was trying to drive at. I could see why if it was part of a main event, like E3 or something, it was just part of a number of things that were showing off as coming soon. But a whole state of play to show off Horizon Forbidden West, to not give you a launch title, to not give you 60 frames per second, to not announce that you've patched the old game at 60 frames per second. There was literally nothing of excitement came out of that for me. It was like, well, I'm not going to play it at 30 frames per second, definitely not. So I'm not going to be buying it on day one if you've not got some sort of 60 FPS patch on it. And they may well do. There may well be a performance thing in it. But it worries me that they've not put that performance thing into the old game. Because if it was as easy to do as that for whatever they've designed in that engine, then surely they would have done it on the old game, and they haven't. So I don't understand why that state of play happened. I don't understand why they're showing off a game at 30 frames per second. And the whole thing just confuses me a little bit. Is it exciting that there's another Forbidden West another Horizon Zero Dawn coming out? Yeah, of course it is for the people that loved it. But even those people have got to admit they don't want to be playing that game at 30 frames per second on a PlayStation 5. Otherwise, there's no point in buying one. You know what I mean? You might as well buy a PlayStation 4 Pro because that'll play 4K at 30 frames per second. So, no, the whole thing just kind of confused my brain. I don't understand what they were trying to do with that. I did see a number of people getting excited about it. The action does look good, and the story looks like it's going to be good again. And the world that they've built is beautiful, but it's only going to be beautiful if you stick it in at 60 frames per second, because otherwise it's just horrible on your eyes, people. It's not nice. So, yeah, that just confused me a bit. Hopefully, well, maybe we'll get some sort of patch to the old game and we'll get more news on 60 frames per second going forward. But at the moment, I'm concerned for that game that it's not going to be any sort of 60 frames per second, because why have they not patched the old game? I mean, for most games, like Digital Foundry looked at The Last of Us, it looks like they literally took the FPS cap off the game. And just like the PS5, if it's a PS5, it just lets it run it at whatever it can, and for 99.9% of the game it hits at 60 frames per second. So, you know, it concerns me a little bit. And I would have been very, very tempted to go and try again at that game. I've tried twice now, I think, to play through it. I did get quite far into it the last time. I would have been really tempted to give it another go if I thought, well, 60 frames per second, I wouldn't mind seeing that world in 60 FPS. Let's go and give it a good whirl and see how we get on with it. And I may still get that opportunity. I might be piping up too soon. They might well have things in hand. They did tweet up the other day saying there is no release date yet. We're still working on things, so we don't want to announce anything until we're happy that we can give you a solid date. That's fine. That's fair enough. But for me, don't bother until you can give me 60 frames per second, because I'm not going to be playing a 30 frames per second game on any of these new consoles. Like, if you can't give me 60 FPS on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, I'm not playing your game. So give me 60 frames per second, because I'll take that all day long above 4K. I mean, it's just, and I've got a 4K telly, but 1440p or 1080p at 60 frames per second is by far better looking than 4K 30 frames per second. By far. A million times better looking, people. So anyway, so there you are. That's Horizon Forbidden West. That's why the title of this video is probably Disappointment in Horizon Forbidden West or something similar. There is news that we talked about last week, that Bethesda and Microsoft were going to have an E3 event together. That has now been confirmed for the 13th of June at 6 PM BST. So that's 6 PM British time. Yeah, I'll let you guys go and find out what that is in the countries that you may be in. It's a good time for me here, to be fair. And they are saying that there will be world exclusives, and there will be new Game Pass games being added as well. So, you know, and there was a mention of surprises somewhere down the line as well. So looking forward to that. I think when it comes to that, as we said last week in my vlog last week, I think we've got to be looking at a lot of, like, well, at least one big Starfield thing. And it may well be that they hang on to it. Oh, and finally, you know, when you think they've done everything. Or it could be they show a bit of Starfield and then the and finally is something little, you know, some little bit of work they've done on maybe Elder Scrolls 6 or something like that. So it could be a number of things happening there. But Bethesda obviously have a load of studios inside their realm, and that realm is now Microsoft's. And so, you know, I'm sure there's stuff we've not even heard of yet. And along with that, that's just Bethesda. We've got all the other studios that they'd already purchased before they purchased Bethesda to talk about as well. So, and, you know, quite a few of those were doing RPGs, so I'm really excited. Avowed. I'm excited to see if there's more of that to be shown off, because was that last year they sort of, I don't know if that was the year before. I think that was the year before where they showed off a bit of Avowed. I could be wrong, but they showed off Avowed anyway. From, it's not Obsidian, was it Obsidian? No. I can't remember one of their devs anyway that they'd bought. And Avowed was it looked like it was a first person sort of sword in one hand, magics in the other. You know, it just looked absolutely awesome, like big open RPG thing. Looked fantastic. So, well, from the little trailer that we saw, it did look gorgeous. It did look like it just landed into gameplay, though, where you were holding your sword and your magics in the other hand. So I'm super excited to see if we get any more news on that. But the fact that they're kind of doing a together thing with Bethesda, it might be they focus in on Bethesda. Though I suppose the fact that they seem to be focusing in on Bethesda like that could suggest that Bethesda are actually the company that have some games not that far away and the others need more time, because they were very, very new projects that some of these things were, you know, these companies were starting to work on, because they only started to work on those projects because Microsoft said, right, we're backing you now, here's the money you need, what do you want to make? And that's what they said to their companies. They said, what do you want to make? And that the company making Avowed said, oh, we want to make this massive RPG, you know, first person RPG sort of thing. It's who is it? I can't remember. Is it the people that made Wasteland and all that? I can't remember now. But anyway, I'm super excited to see what Microsoft are going to show off. And the more that it hits Games Pass, the better, of course. And there's going to be more games hitting that. So, yeah, super exciting, people. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with. And that's not that far away, is it? A couple of weeks. Dying Light 2, people. Dying Light 2. Now, here's the thing with Dying Light. If you don't know what Dying Light is, I mean, it's been that long since there's probably people gotten into gaming now that don't know what Dying Light is. It came out on PS4, so and it was early days PS4. I'm pretty sure, so it's probably about 7-year-old now. The game, and it was the team that made that game were the people that made the original Dead Island and the sort of the follow up to it, or the side product to it. And Dead Island was a massive hit, and they all left and created this new studio, if I remember right. And Dying Light 2 never happened. Dead Island 2 never happened, even though it was announced early on the Xbox One. Never happened because that studio just kind of seemed to crumble away and didn't do it. And they might still be working on it, but I mean, a whole generation has gone by without a Dead Island 2, I think. And so that was the people that made that game kind of went off and in their own studio created Dying Light, which is basically another zombie game, first-person zombie game where you can craft your own melee weapons and guns and all that sort of stuff. But you're almost doing street running, wall running type stuff to get away from zombies and attack them and run over rooftops and all that sort of stuff. And it was quite ahead of its time at the time. I remember thinking that it was a bit uneasy on the eye. It was trying so hard to do a lot of things. I remember thinking that it did look a bit wobbly on the eyes. The frame rates were obviously, 30 or lower, and very, the motion blur sort of on it wasn't really helping. And anyway, it was a popular game. I didn't quite get into it because those sort of games, they either hit or miss with me. And I did get really into Dead Island at one point. Again, I might have finished that game, But anyway, I got really far into Dead Island, and then it just kind of grew a bit samey. And that's another game that's kind of been remastered and stuff that I don't think I've ever looked at the remaster, but it looks like it's I'm confusing myself. The last time I played it looked bloody gorgeous anyway. No, I think I played it on back compat, and then they did a remaster, I think. Don't think I've ever played the remaster. But it was a bloody good looking game at the time, that Dead Island. It was flipping amazing. It was one of the few games where you're walking around, all the trees were blowing in the wind, and it was just smooth panning, and didn't seem to struggle at all. However they designed that game is really, really impressive. But anyway, it's good to see that Dying Light 2 is coming along. They've spent a long time working on it, clearly, because it's been... I mean, to be fair to them, they did a lot of DLC for Dying Light 1, I think. So it's not like they did Dying Light 1 and then it's taken them 7 years to make a second one. They've clearly made, the same... They're not a massive studio, I don't think. So the same people would have been making any DLCs that went into the game and extra content. And I think they did a lot of extra content for that game. So, you forgive a big break in a studio coming out with a new one if they've supported the first one so well. So... I don't know, I might be tempted to give it a go. I think, if I remember rightly, I think I saw Digital Foundry do some footage of Dying Light 1 with FPS boost on it. So I might be tempted to give Dying Light 1 another go now that it's got FPS boost on it to get it to 60 FPS. Because it may look incredible now that... it did look quite smooth. I mean, I'm trying to remember the footage now, but I remember thinking, actually, that looks a lot smoother. So I might be tempted just to go and give it a go. Do you know, I think, funnily enough, though, I think I've actually got it on disc for the PlayStation 4. So that's not going to be any of use to me on the Series X. But I wouldn't play it on the PlayStation 4. But I might get it on the cheap for the Series X. And I might give it a go on that. I think it got a little bit, for me, it got a little bit like, go to the main base, guy gives you orders to go and get something or go and do something, and you just keep going backwards and forwards to get stuff and do stuff. And I think I just found it a little bit monotonous in the end, and just wanting to push the story through. But it was good fun, you know, and there was loads at the time. It was really, they were really going for a lot. Like I said earlier, they were going for, you know, a lot of things that you didn't think might be possible on the consoles at the time. And the amount of zombies on screen and all that sort of stuff was really impressive, you know, to see it happen with no screen tearing and all that sort of stuff, which I remember not happening on the game. But it was a bit sticky on the eye. So, you know, I think when Digital Foundry looked at it, they were basically saying that it really holds up well outside of things like lighting and shading and all that sort of stuff, which just clearly wasn't done to any great degree because they'd already used the max power of what they had to try and achieve what they were achieving. But I mean, yeah, you got to admire a studio like that. They obviously pushed the boat at the time, and now that they've got you've got consoles that are able to push the boundaries of what it was. If you take the frame cap off it, you know, the game almost, well, it has a new breed of life. You know, it breathes new life into any game when you can take it from 30 frames to 60 frames per second. The amount of joy I've got out of playing games that I've loved and just shelved because I thought, I want to play that in 60 FPS, and I've just got hooked on them again because they're so buttery smooth. It's like playing them all over again. It's just gorgeous. Like the playthrough of Skyrim I was doing, or Fallout 4, and you know, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Other news, people, other news. It might be quite a short one this week because I didn't have a huge list. What are we on now? About 30 minutes or so. Well, the last piece of news that I have, people, the last piece of news. There is apparently a Nintendo Switch Pro happening, even though Nintendo said, no, absolutely not. There's no such thing as a Switch Pro happening this year, or no, we're concentrating on the products that we've got. And so that clearly meant, yes, absolutely, we've got one in the pipeline. Because according to all the rumours that we're seeing, it looks like the Switch Pro is going to be launching before E3, well, not launching, but being announced before E3. So I thought Nintendo were actually taking part in E3. Usually they do like a segment anyway on video. They normally don't do a stage presence, do they? I would have thought they would have done that. But anyway, the rumour is that they seem to be doing their own thing to announce the Switch Pro is coming. And to some degree, the rumours that I've seen seem to suggest that it's going to be a 4K capable version of the Switch that's out now. Now, whether they do that in some form of base unit or whether they're doing it in the actual handheld itself remains to be seen. But you would suspect that it's actually in the device. I can't imagine they're going to start doing base units with extra power. It's a good idea, and I've suggested it in the past that I thought it would be a good idea for the people that want to actually play console, you know, make a big docker for it and make it uber powerful. But I don't know what's involved in making that happen. At the moment, you just dock it, and all the dock does is make it go onto your screen. It doesn't really give you any great benefit other than shifting it from 720p to 1080p, I think, on the big screen. But it is still, I mean, my problem with the Switch is going to be the same as everything else now. If you can't give me a game in 60 frames per second now, I'm not going to be playing it. It's just it hurts my eyes, makes my eyes bleed, people. I can't be having it. So the big thing for me is going to be, what are they going to... And you can, without any shadow of a doubt, you can guarantee that their focus is going to be, we need to get it 4K. Their focus is not going to be 60 FPS. And I'll be delighted if it is 60 FPS, but I can't see how, and I can't see it, certainly not in that size of device, unless they are going to do something with the base unit. And I don't know, I've not touched my Switch in like a year and a half because it's just, there's nothing on it that's hooked me in. I was a bit disappointed with the Zelda game because of the weapon system in it, and I don't want to spend the whole game fighting things with twigs. But it was a beautiful game. But again, I remember at the time thinking this was a bit sticky on the big screen, and probably worse now that I've played games at 60 FPS. So there's nothing really going to hook me into it. I mean, my son Aaron, it's like his favourite thing, the Switch. He loves it. But he loves a lot of JRPG stuff and, you know, a lot of things that I don't tend to get into these days. So he just loves it as a playing device. And I think the Switch the Switch is great. People are obviously loving it. It is a great looking quality piece of kit. For me, I just feel like it's never going to give me the gaming experience I want, because I love as much power as I can get in the game to make the game play as beautifully as I can make it play. I love it, people. I'm a bit of a graphics whore. I want the beautifulness in my eyes. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what they come up with. It might be the very time to sell my Switch, and you know, maybe focus that money in on something else to do with gaming, because it's just sat there doing nothing at the minute. So it's exciting though. It's good to see them thinking about a Switch Pro. And look, they're not worried, are they? You know, they're making a bloody fortune. I mean, the Switches are selling constantly. The games for them are selling constantly. They're making mountains of money. I mean, the sales figures on the Switch are ridiculous, aren't they? So, you know, it's been an uber successful console, so I'm sure they're not even remotely bothered about the fact that I'm not I'm not that into it. But, you know, it's going to be interesting though, isn't it, to see just how much people want a separate portable device now that you can, well, now that cloud gaming is coming along and you can play 60 frames per second games on a phone just by streaming it down and stuff like that. It's like, well, why would I fork out all this money for a Switch when I can just have a big phone and buy the little holder for it or attach my proper controller to it? It's an interesting thing I didn't think about though, because I thought, why would you not use the big controller? But Aaron was telling me that at one point he tried his main controller with a clip that held the phone, and it was fine for a little while, but the weight of the phone made it really uncomfortable because it started getting top heavy. Never thought of that before. So I think if you're doing a lot of gaming on mobile, it might be that there is Switch-like dockers for your phone that basically you slot the phone into, and it's got a Switch-style control on it either side of it. So I think that's why they're probably more popular. Yeah, I never thought of that before. Well, there you are, people. That's all I've got for you. I think we've not quite made it to 40 minutes, but you know, I mean, sometimes it's just enough, people. Do you know, it's funny because the last 2 or 3 vlogs I've done, I've said, do you know, this might be quite a short one because I haven't got much on my list. And I didn't say it today. And then I'm saying short, you know, for me to prattle on for the best part of 40 minutes is probably enough for anybody, people. But so there you are. So my next week is going to be continuing with Gears Tactics. I forgot then. Gears Tactics and probably Outerworlds. If Outerworlds has got that patch on it for 60 FPS, I'm most definitely probably going to jump into Outerworlds for a bit of a play of that. And I may get tempted to do a little bit of recording for you on the Dragon Age Inquisition playthrough with the FPS boost turned on and show you just how gorgeous that game's looking on the Xbox Series X, because my eyes were just like blue. It was just like blue, love hearts, blue. Love heart eyes emoji. So there you are, folks. If I ramble on any more, it'll be for no reason at all. I'll just bore you senseless. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog of mine, and I shall catch you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.